Hello, my friends. I have a big question for you. Big philosophical question. What is at the heart of astrology? What is at, and also what is at the heart of astronomy? Let's take astrology first. A lot of us astrologers say that astrology is an archetypal language. We look at Venus as this archetype of beauty, Mars as the warrior. It's a story written in the sky with imagery and symbolism, that somehow this language of symbolism is ingrained in life itself. And so if Venus is in a certain sign or house makes certain aspects, that mythic story of beauty comes out in different ways. Is that what you think is at the heart? Is that the core? Is that where astrology comes from? That somehow these stories are in the sky, these mythic stories. They're like eternal and they're even built into nature itself. Kind of a wild idea, but this is what a lot of astrologers say. Or is astrology primarily just a form of divination? Or maybe a little bit of both, or maybe the divinatory qualities come out in certain ways of doing astrology, and the archetypal comes out in another way. What do you think? On the next slide, I'm going to tell you what I think, okay? It's a fun thing, like, what are we doing, those of us who are in astrology? And what's at the heart of astronomy? As I write here on this slide, seems like careful observation seems to be the heart of it. Is that what's at the heart? Is that the core of what astronomers are studying and seeing? It's just physical things they're observing and just observing, this is what's happening. What is at the core? Okay, you ready for my answer? I think this is fun. You can think about your answers. You could pause this if you want to think about it some more. Here's my answer for both of these. Geometry and vibration are at the heart of both astrology and astronomy. Whoa! Let me take astronomy first. How is geometry and vibration? Geometry? Astronomy? Huh? What's going on here? Let me show you. Right there. How do the planets move? How do satellites like the moon going around, how do they move? They move in ellipses. You've heard this. They move in elliptical orbits. They move in perfect elliptical orbits. Even when the planet slows down or its orbit seems to change because of the gravitational pull of another planet, we call that a perturbation. Astronomers analyze that as a change in the qualities of the ellipse. The planets are always in a perfect ellipse. Johannes Kepler discovered this because he was looking for the geometry behind nature. How about that? He was looking for the geometry behind nature, and he found it as an ellipse. So that's one example of what's at the heart of the movement of these objects. Geometry. What about vibration? When astronomers are looking, they're looking at the light. They can analyze the light, which was with what's called spectroscopy, and they break it down. Those wavelengths, which is a form of vibration, being analyzed to understand what's going on. Taken even further, some people say that vibration is at the heart of everything. So, yes, it's careful observations. Observations of what? The geometry and the vibration. And what about astrology? Is astrology really at heart a study of geometry and vibration just like astronomy is? Really? Well, look at this. What is the ascendant? We make a big deal about the ascendant, whether you're a Vedic, Hellenistic, medieval, modern astrologer. The ascendant is geometry. It's not a physical thing. In fact, it's a very abstract geometry. We take what's called a tangent to the earth. It's like laying a flat surface to where it balances on the earth. That point, it's pure geometry. And where that's called the horizon plane or celestial horizon. And where that intersects another great circle called the ecliptic plane is the ascendant. It is pure geometry. It's not a visual thing. Oh, just look east and see what stars are there. No, It's not even necessarily east. The ascendant is pure abstract geometry. In astrology, we're saying the same kind of thing astronomers are saying. This pure geometry behind nature. Nature is following the pure geometry. That's what astronomers are saying. That's what astrologers are saying. Even though they don't express it that way all the time, even though they may not, quote, want to admit it, that's what we're doing. Kepler admitted it. Kepler said that's how he discovered the laws, because he was looking for that geometry. Same thing with the midheaven. It's similar to the ascendant. It's an abstract point. Same thing with tropical zero areas where the zodiac begins. They're all pure geometry of these great circles that we can understand with our minds and make them up mathematically. The astrologers in the Middle Ages in Europe were called mathematici, means mathematicians. They understood that this is what they're looking at. So it's an interesting answer to the question, what if it's geometry and vibration that's at the heart? What if all these mythic stories of Venus being the archetype of love and Mars the warrior, etc., what if they're born out of something simple, something elegant, frequency and vibration, and the geometry in which they operate? This is what we have concluded in what I call vibrational astrology, and the breakthrough discoveries that we're making, validating with hypothesis tests, a whole new field using rules that were never used before, but developed from the ancient tradition in completely new ways. Wow. So you stumble on a correct way of seeing something like Kepler did, and what we're doing is doing the same thing that Kepler's doing this, and that they're doing in science and everything else. We found the same truth. Vibration, geometry, once you focus on that, you get to the heart of it. So, I've made a longer video about this, which is for members only. There's a members only thing. I'll put a link to a video that introduces that, where I go into more detail about exactly how vibration and geometry, and I'll focus on the geometry, are essential. And in the longer video, we learn things like where houses and zodiac signs come from, how constellations are not related to zodiac signs, how, for example, the star of Regulus is in the heart of the lion in the constellation Leo, but this has no direct relationship to tropical signs or even sidereal signs. I know that sounds radical. I know that disagrees with a lot of understanding, but this is where this new vision of astrology, which is being confirmed with data, it's inspiring, it's simultaneously inspirational, and you might say factual. So for those of you who really want to dive deeper into this, I have a longer video for the members only, but out here for the public, I'm just making short videos to get the point across for those of you who just want to know the basic idea of what we're doing, what we're coming up with, what we're looking at. Well, that's it, my friends. Thank you very much for watching. God bless. Namaste.